So a couple weeks ago, I reached 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has watched or commented or liked or subscribed. When I started this channel, I really did not think that I was going to reach 1,000 subscribers, period, like at all. So it's really cool to me that I have that and also that I've reached it this fast. Um, Super unexpected for me, honestly. So thank you guys. I mean, I'm just appreciative that anyone actually wants to hear what I have to say. So I'm very, very honored to have built such a nice, supportive community here. In honor of me reaching 1,000 subscribers, I decided to do a nice little Q&A video in very, traditional YouTube fashion. So I made a post on my YouTube community page, and I also did a question and prompt on my Instagram page. And I got quite a few responses actually. So I'm going to be trying to answer most of them, not all of them, because I think there's quite a lot. So yeah, let's just get into it. I got a question from a few people actually, multiple questions that were all kind of along the lines of like, how did you get into perfumes? What's the fragrance that made you fall in love with perfumes? That sort of thing. I would say that fragrance was not really a big part of my life until a few years ago. When I was a teenager, I would wear mostly Bath and Body Works fragrances. I did kind of have my like signature big girl perfumes. Like I wore Clinique Happy for a little bit. I wore DKNY Delicious for a little. Um, Clean perfumes, like the Clean Skin one in the purple bottle and Clean Rain in the like teal turquoise bottle. Had those ones also. And of course Tommy Girl by Tommy Hilfiger. I feel like that one like really captured my attention. There were a couple of turning points in my perfume journey. I would say a big one was when I like K-pop. I used to be a fan of this girl group called G Friend before they disbanded. They did an ad campaign for an Anna Sui fragrance called Romantica Exotica. And I had never heard of that perfume, so I was Googling like how can I know what Romantica Exotica smells like? And that's how I discovered Fragrantica. So when I discovered Fragrantica, I started, I was like, oh, you can read people's reviews on here, you can catalog your fragrances, you can look at other people's catalogs. So that was like a big turning point for me, was discovering Fragrantica. I think later on I started to kind of get more into like niche fragrance when I started wearing a Maison Louis Marie perfume, number 4. I'll put it on the screen. It's basically a Santal 33 dupe, but reading about that perfume made me learn about Santal 33. So I was just starting to kind of slowly get more and more into perfumes. But I would say the time when I really, really like fully dove into it was during the pandemic. I think a lot of people kind of had a similar trajectory. The pandemic just kind of gave me time to actually fully dive into perfume in a way that I hadn't been able to do before. At this point, I was really getting more into perfume history, more into niche perfume, more into vintage perfume. Ad campaigns and like fashion photographs were like a big entry point for me here. I was spending a lot of time searching for archival perfume ads and collecting them, and just like saving them on my computer. So that was really interesting for me because I really love fashion photography. I would say one of the most formative perfumes for me at this time was smelling Mitsuko for the first time from Guerlain. I remember I ordered 3 little samples from Surrender to Chance. I ordered Gris by Dior. I ordered Mitsuko from Guerlain, and I ordered Poison by Dior. And it was my first time smelling any of those perfumes. Mitsuko really captured my attention. I just didn't know that perfume could smell like that. So that was like a huge turning point for me, and that's when I started to like really get more into history, and that really made me kind of like fall in love with perfume. I also think during this time there was a lot of interesting content being made around perfume, especially for like people who are a little more entry level, like I was at the time. I remember specifically, I think the perfume room was just starting during this time, like maybe 2020 or 2021. And I remember listening to the episode with Maxwell Williams from UFO Parfums. That was a really interesting episode for me too, because I had just I didn't know that like indie perfume was a thing. I had never heard of the kind of perfumery that he was doing, which is like very experimental, and more of like an art practice than anything. Maxwell is really amazing. Like he later reached out to me like not too long after that, and sent me some perfume samples because I think pretty shortly after I heard that episode, that's when I made my Orris Root Powder Instagram account and started posting ads and posting about perfume. So yeah, I guess that was about 5 or 6 years ago, something like that. I had a few people also ask me, how do I store my perfumes? Um, I actually do not have a great storage setup right now for my perfumes. Or it's fine, but it's not like the most glamorous. Right now I just keep them in my bottom dresser drawer to keep them, out of the sunlight. I like to keep them in the bottom drawer because I'm afraid if I put them in the top drawer, the dresser will get too top heavy, and when I pull the drawer out, it'll just topple over because the bottles do get really heavy. I do keep some on top of my dresser and then I switch those out, every month or every couple months or so. Definitely not the most glamorous collection, but it works for the small space that I live in. I think eventually I do want to have a more kind of bespoke storage situation for my perfumes. At one point I was considering getting a refrigerator specifically for them. I think that might be a little bit overkill, especially considering the amount of perfumes I have right now. But yeah, I'm thinking about it. I do want to eventually get like a nicer cabinet or some sort of nook for them, that's a little more cozy and nicer looking. Someone asked, what's a note or a perfume that you disliked before but grew to love? That's a really good question. Honestly, there's been a lot of perfumes that I disliked at first. One really important one for me was Agent Provocateur, the signature perfume in just like the regular pink bottle. That was a perfume I blind bought very early on. I think this was also like really early during the pandemic. I just bought it on eBay for like 20 bucks or something because I liked rose perfumes at the time. I still do. But I was like, oh, I want to try this rose perfume. Like everyone says it smells really good. And the roses at the time that I was accustomed to were like Jo Malone red roses, ballet rose from Philosophy, things that are a little more light, a little more clean. When I sprayed the Agent Provocateur on myself, it just smelled like piss to me, like straight up piss. I think I talked about this briefly in another video, maybe. Basically, I was not feeling it like at all. It did grow on me eventually, and now when I put on Agent Provocateur, it just smells like a beautiful rose chypre to me. I don't have any issues with it at all. It doesn't smell like piss to me anymore. So I guess my tastes have just changed and my palate has developed a little bit, maybe. I also remember I didn't like opium when I first smelled it. I remember really not liking Wrappings by Clinique. It was like too aldehydic for me. Rive Gauche by YSL also, when I smelled it, was too aldehydic for me. I think a lot of the more like vintage style perfumes, when I first smelled them, I was not feeling them. And those are all perfumes that I love now. So I try not to give samples away too quickly or get rid of them. I try to hold on to them for a little while longer because in a few years you might actually like it. You never know. Okay, I also had a few people ask me what I do for work or like what's my day job. I had a few variations on that question that I got asked. I don't want to dox myself, but basically, to keep it simple, I am a teaching artist and a mentor, and I work full time at a nonprofit. I don't work like a super glitzy, glamorous job. I don't work in the perfume or the beauty industry or fashion or anything. Um, I'm just me. I don't get paid for the videos that I make even right now. I don't get any sponsorships or anything. So any perfumes that I talk about in my videos or that I show on my channel or anything, those are all things that I've bought with my own money, and I'm talking about them out of my own volition and my own passion. Someone asked me, what are your thoughts on plasticky or other synthetic accords? I usually like plasticky or synthetic accords. It really depends, I think, on the fragrance, but there's quite a few fragrances I like that have like a plasticky note in them, or whether it's on purpose or unintentionally. Ganymede, I really, really like that perfume. I actually bought it for my boyfriend, and that one is really interesting to me. It's like kind of sandy and dry and clay smelling, but also kind of metallic. I always say it smells like when if you've like spent a long day at the beach and you have like sand in all your crevices, and then you get into a car that's like fresh from the dealership and there's still like plastic wrapping on the seatbelt. Um, that's what that smells like to me. So that's Ganymede. Clue Perfumery has a perfume called Warm Bulb that is so interesting. It's a vanilla perfume, but it also has a very prominent accord of hot dust on a hot light bulb. It's so accurate somehow. Like, it's really good. If you haven't smelled it, you should for sure. That's probably like one of my favorite synthetic perfumes of all time. Pear Fat also does a lot of really good kind of synthetic perfumes. They have one called Cupid Doll that has a nice like doll head smell. There's a lot. I mean, yeah, I do really like synthetic plasticky accords. It really depends though. There are a couple of plastic perfumes that I don't enjoy. For whatever reason, I think I struggle sometimes with peach accords. Gucci Rush famously is like the peach poppers perfume. I'm not a fan of that one. Or at least I wasn't when I smelled it like a couple years ago. It's been a while though, so maybe my tastes have changed. I don't know. Maybe I need to give it another smell. And similarly, Lancome Trésor, not the biggest fan of that one either. That one is not, I don't think is trying to be as intentionally plastic, but it still comes off very like plasticky to me in a way that I'm not really feeling. Okay, I also got a lot of people asking me how old I was. I'm 27. I just turned 27 yesterday. It'll probably be later by the time this video comes out. Um, yeah, I'm 27. What are your favorite white florals? It's hard to pick. That's probably one of my favorite fragrance categories. Um, okay, Fracas, obviously, I think has to be up there. Um, ooh, this is really hard. Serge Lutens has some really good ones. Fils de Joie, I've been liking that one a lot. Fleur d'Oranger, that one is really good too. Probably like I think the best orange blossom I've ever tried. So yeah, if I'm going jasmine and orange blossom, well, Jasmine by Molinard, I've been liking that one a lot as well. Like it's pretty indolic and it has like a lotiony feel, but at times it's kind of icy as well. I've been really liking that jasmine. Okay, so I did a tuberose, I did a jasmine, two jasmines, and I did an orange blossom. Um, Dias and Durga White Peacock Lily. I love that one. It's probably my favorite lily fragrance. It's just so like it's so green and stemmy, but then it becomes way more like buttery and like polleny towards the end. That one I think is a really beautiful one. Someone asked me, I'd like to know what books/ resources you use for research. That is a really good question. I would say my primary research sources are online blogs. There's a lot of really amazing blogs out there where you can learn a lot about perfume and perfume history. I'm just going to list some on the screen here for you guys. These blogs are all amazing. Many of them have been active for like years and years. Like, these are people who have been doing it truly like for the love of the game. They've been at it since before there were brand deals, before there was AdSense, like before you could make money off of doing this kind of thing, they've been blogging about perfume. So shout out to the OG perfume bloggers. For books about perfume, there are definitely a few books that I've enjoyed reading. This one my friend Julia gave me. It's called A Natural History of the Senses. It's by Diane Ackerman. It's not strictly about perfume, but I do think it's just about the senses in general, like, you know, sight, smell, taste, touch, sound, and like the historical context. Um, One review from on the back says an aphrodisiac for the sense receptors. Read a chapter, then step outside, and voila, the sky is a deeper blue, the birds sing a sweeter song. How could the world seem otherwise after feasting on a voluptuous prose like this? That is so accurate. I feel like reading this book just made me appreciate my senses more. And that's what perfume does too. Like when you smell a really beautiful perfume, you're like, wow, I'm so grateful that I can smell. So thank you to my friend Julia for this book because I have really enjoyed reading it multiple times. Let me see. Essence and Alchemy by Mandy Aftel. So she is a perfumer who perfumes. She makes perfumes only from naturals. She doesn't use any synthetics in her perfumery, I believe. She does a lot of work with the Institute for Art and Olfaction. And so this book is really interesting because it kind of gives you some background and some history on like different natural essences that are used in ancient perfumery and natural perfumery. Really cool book. This one is by Jean-Claude Elena, and this is kind of more of like a coffee table book, I guess. It is definitely informative, but also like the pictures are really beautiful. And this one's by Jean-Claude Elena, who was he was for a really long time the perfumer for Hermes. Very respected perfumer. He's like speaking from a first person perspective in this book and like talking about his experience with different natural perfumes. You can see like on this page he's talking about nutmeg, and so he has like opium up here, and which one is that one? I think it might be Kelly Kalesh or Kalesh. I'm not sure. But anyways, you know, there's a little bit of history in here. There's a little bit of opinion in here and storytelling, and also just really beautiful illustrations. My friend Jem picked this up for me, I think at a garage sale or an estate sale. Perfume and scent bottle collecting. So this talks about like the glassware and like the art of like different perfume bottles. This is like a page on double-ended scent bottles, which I thought was really cool. Gosh, I should do some scans of this actually and upload them onto my Instagram. Because there's some beautiful images here. My friend Maya got me this book, Smells. I think my friend Maya got me this book. I can't remember if it was her or my mom. I think it was my friend Maya. This is Smells by Robert Muchemblood. This one is more historical as well. Really nice read. He talks about like the plague and like in the Industrial Revolution and like how all those kind of historical factors influenced like the Western attitude towards scent and perfume. And there are some fun pictures in here as well. And there's some fun quotes in here. Like there's this whole section about like the butt, which I think is really funny. I have like such an immature sense of humor. And I do have a couple of these kind of like guides. So I have the original one by Luca Turin. I feel like everyone knows about this one. He's just basically like listing different perfumes and like describing them and kind of rating them and reviewing them as well. This is a pretty good entry point, I would say, if you're new to perfumes. I don't really agree with a lot of his opinions in here. Well, not a lot, but there's definitely, I think I have a different taste than him for certain things. But it's still good to have this as a reference. And I have the version that is in French on one side and English on the other side. I don't know if that's like a special edition or something, but Yeah, I also have this one by Neil Chapman, and it's called Perfume in Search of Your Signature Scent. This one was also a gift. Um, oh, I just turned to, and this one is kind of by note. So, like for the tuberose page, we start with fracas, and then we go to Carnal Flower. And so it's like describing them and also naming like some historically important things about them. So, like on the section for fracas, it talks about all the different celebrities that have worn fracas. I think this one I prefer over the Luca Turin. There's a couple other books that I think are really fun to read about perfume that I don't have. Um, One is Scent and Subversion by Barbara Herrmann. I love that book. I don't think it's being printed right now. I really want to get a copy, but I was able to read it and scan a few pages from it actually, because I got it from my college library when I was still attending college. Um, Barbara Herrmann is the founder of Eris Parfums, and she wrote kind of like a similar like list of perfumes, briefly talking about their history. There's also, she did include some perfume ads in that book as well, so I thought that was really cool. Love that book. What else? Oh, I have a couple copies of Nez magazine also, which is a really fun perfume centric publication. I cannot find them right now. They're somewhere in the depths of my unpacked boxes in my office. Even though I moved over a year ago, I still haven't unpacked all my magazines because I have so many. Yeah, I'm very grateful to all my lovely friends and family who have gifted me these amazing books about perfume. I do use them as references for some of my videos sometimes. I really recommend just searching perfume in your local library system online and just seeing what comes up and checking out a few of those if you're more interested in learning about perfume historically, scientifically, in any context. What's a perfume you've gone through multiple bottles of? There's been a few, but probably Mitsuko by Guerlain is the perfume I've gone through the most bottles of. Eau Dynamisante I've also gone through multiple bottles of. I think I mentioned that. Fracas, I've gone through a couple bottles of that. But yeah, I think Mitsuko is the one that's at the top for me. Do you have any time capsule perfumes that you avoid wearing to avoid overriding the memory? Honestly, not really. Like, I'm not that kind of person. I know a lot of people do that where they'll be like, oh, I'm gonna wear this perfume for 3 months, and then I'm gonna wear this one for 3 months. So that way, when I smell the other perfume, I'll be able to remember where I was at that time in life. I really admire that kind of discipline. Unfortunately, I'm not that kind of person. Top five perfume notes. That one is a really hard question. Okay, Iris is definitely, I think, probably number one for me. I think it's just so gorgeous. It can go powdery, it can go creamy and buttery, it can go lotiony, it can go lipsticky. Like, there's just a lot you can do with Iris. Sometimes it can go like carroty, sometimes wintergreeny. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Iris, so I think that one is at the top for me. Maybe Jasmine is a close number two, just because I think, it's Jasmine. Like, it's kind of a queen floral in my mind, and a lot of my favorite perfumes are, if they're not, primarily Jasmine perfumes, Jasmine is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Lilac, I think, is also in my top five. Kind of a more underrated floral note, or maybe not one that most people would put in their top five, but it's just a very special and beautiful smell. And Passant, by Olivia Jacobetti. That perfume is so beautiful to me. It's so realistic. And I think that perfume alone puts lilac in my top five. Any sort of resin, I know this is like kind of cheating. I think myrrh and Apopanax, like that kind of category of perfume, big favorite for me. Even just a Papanex by itself, I think is really beautiful. So I'm gonna have to say that category. I guess maybe resins in general is too broad, but I'm gonna say a Papanex slash myrrh. For my fifth choice for top five perfume notes, I'm gonna pick oak moss. I think oak moss is so important to perfume in general. Obviously, now real oak moss is no longer permitted in fragrance, but it's still the sensation and the feeling and the smell of oak moss is still being replicated by synthetics like Vera Moss or some other ones like that. And like you can't have sheepers without oak moss. A lot of like leathery, woody fragrances, you can't make them without, you can't make them smell as good as they do without oak moss. So I'm gonna put oak moss as my number five. So I think that was iris, jasmine, lilac, a Papanex slash myrrh, and oak moss. I feel like there's so many missing. Like I would maybe put rose up there also. I would maybe also put tuberose. There's just too many to pick from. Favorite food slash drink that you would like to be a perfume. There's a kombucha that I'm obsessed with drinking recently. I'm gonna put a picture on the screen. It's like a blue spirulina, coconut water, ginger kombucha. And the flavor is so subtle, like it's not too strong. I think a lot of kombuchas are like very like extremely tart, extremely fizzy, or they have like a lot of like fake flavors in them. This tastes very natural. The coconut is very subtle and watery, like it's not like a strong hitting you over the head coconut. So I would like to see that blue spirulina ginger coconut water kombucha made into a perfume, if possible. What's your process for deciding if something is full bottle worthy? I think the main indicator for me is if I use up multiple samples. So like if I buy a sample and I use it up and then I'm like really craving the perfume again and I buy another one. So I need to like spend a lot of time with a perfume before I commit to a full bottle. I'm not really an impulse buyer. And I think another factor for me is price. um, I try to find things cheaper, like secondhand or on gray markets a lot of the time. I've waited years for cheap listings of certain scents to come along. Like I'm a pretty patient person when it comes to that. Also, I'm more likely to buy a full bottle of something if I don't have anything similar in my collection yet. Um, well, that's not really accurate because I feel like I have tons of white florals in my collection and I just keep getting more. Um, but whatever. I mean, I wear all of them, so. But basically, I feel like I have to spend a lot of time with the perfume and it has to be within my price point. If you could change the appearance of a perfume bottle that doesn't match the scent, which one would you change? Mm, I feel like a lot of perfumes that have blue bottles uh, are not really accurate to what the smell smells like. Maybe controversial. I know this is a very beloved scent, but Mugler Angel just doesn't smell blue to me at all. The bottle is obviously very beautiful and gorgeous, um, but it doesn't smell blue. And the juice in the bottle, like if you have it for long enough, it'll turn like a yellowy brown anyway. So I feel like it would make more sense if the juice inside of Mugler Angel was like pink or orange or yellow or brown or something like that. Another blue perfume that doesn't smell like the bottle is Oxygen by Lanvin. That one smells so like milky and powdery and lotiony. It doesn't really smell like the name or the bottle suggests. Honestly, I'm not as mad at that one. I feel like the kind of bait and switch that happens with the visuals of the bottle and the smell is kind of fun. I don't feel like super strongly about this sort of thing, to be honest. Like, every bottle is beautiful no matter how tacky it is and how strange it is, in my opinion. How do you feel about the recent popularity of fragrances and the huge boom in new releases we've been seeing? Okay, I have a lot of thoughts on this topic. The current state of perfume and perfume content, honestly, it kind of reminds me of how the makeup industry and the makeup space was like 10, 15 years ago. Like I can remember beauty bloggers and makeup bloggers being at their peak in like from like 2010 to 2015. Um, and you know, there were random ass collaborations everywhere, huge hauls, lots of overconsumption happening. Um, and like it was just like a feeling of like oversaturation. That sort of oversaturation I think is definitely happening in the perfume space, not only with perfume releases, but also with the amount of content we're seeing being created about perfume. Um, at least more on like the mainstream facing side. Well, actually in all areas of perfume content creation, I think. Um, it's been happening, I guess, since like the pandemic, honestly, but you know, it's been increasing a lot more just in the past couple of years. I also think, you know, this is due to a bunch of different reasons, but I think a big one is that consumer attitudes are shifting about perfumes. It's more common now to have a fume wardrobe or a collection instead of just having your one signature scent that you go to. Although I feel like that's like a chicken and egg situation. I feel like that kind of attitude shift is happening in part because of the, you know, amount of content that we're seeing being created about perfume. Basically, everything around the perfume industry right now is a huge indicator that we're in like late stage capitalism. You know, all the like sponsorships, whether they're disclosed or undisclosed, the sort of like digital ubiquity of perfume talk, the like kind of very blatant style of like run, don't walk style of influencer marketing that I am not really attracted to personally. I think a year or two ago, actually, I got pretty discouraged by this kind of like hyper consumerist change in the landscape of perfume content. And like the number of new releases last year and the year before, I think was like triple the number of new releases 10 years ago in 2015. I think a lot of the content about perfume that gets pushed to entry level consumers is very superficial, very surface level. It kind of put a bad taste in my mouth a little bit. And I started to think like, is collecting and talking about perfume even worth it anymore? My friend Audrey wrote a really good piece about this actually. I'll link it in the description. And I also mentioned this feeling a little bit in a piece that I wrote for Heart Note Press. Um, but in reality, I do think that even though the so-called algorithm does push a certain type of content, there's still a lot of really amazing people out there making really amazing content, having real discussions, and doing it for the love of the game. And there's also plenty of really amazing perfumes being made. There's indie perfumers that are doing really amazing things. There's artisan perfumers that are doing really amazing things. So I think even though it can seem a little daunting with the amount of new releases we see all the time and this like very corporate, hyper commercial, hyper consumerist landscape that we're in right now, you just have to really know where to look to find the sort of the releases, the perfume, and the perfume content that fits what you want to see. You have to maybe put a little more energy into curating the media you consume instead of just, you know, mindlessly watching whatever the algorithm serves you. But just because the landscape is inundated with more doesn't mean that good stuff isn't still out there. Um, so so yeah, I think it's hard to ignore how oversaturated things feel right now, but I feel like the space that I've curated for myself, you know, the people I follow on Instagram, the YouTubers I watch, the blogs that I read, those are things that kind of ground me a little bit and keep me more connected to why I actually do this, you know, the passion for perfume itself and like the history behind perfume and like, you know, smelling stuff that I actually enjoy, smelling stuff that excites me, you know. I hope that makes sense. I feel like that was a little bit lengthy, but those are my thoughts. Are there any perfume related YouTube channels you watch? There are a lot, actually. The Fragrantician, love her. She actually just returned to YouTube recently, and she is really amazing. My World of Fragrance, really cool. I've been watching her for a long time. There's been some people that I've started following more recently, like in the past year, that I think are really great YouTubers as well. Danielle from Perfume Journal, really cool, very friendly and kind person as well. I'm trying to think who else. Personally, has been watching him for a really long time. Oh, Katie Puckrick. I really wish that she would come back and make more videos. She doesn't make new ones anymore, but if you haven't watched her reviews, you should go watch some of her reviews. I just love the way that she talks about fragrance. And I feel like her reviews are still really relevant for a lot of the fragrances that she's covered. There's so many more that I'm missing, and I'm just going to put them in the description or maybe put them on the screen here. Again, a lot of these people are YouTubers who have been making perfume content like for years, you know. Some of them don't have that many subscribers, you know, but they are very engaged with their community. They're very supportive, and they have just been doing this for a really long time, and they're doing it out of love and passion for perfume as an art form. And so that is really attractive to me, more so than, oh, like, come with me to like buy this new thing, whatever, whatever. Someone asked me, any thoughts on beauty slash hair slash fashion? Hmm. Well, I'll say recently I'm getting way more into makeup, specifically blushes. I have way too many blushes right now. Okay, I have NARS Orgasm, the classic. And then I have these two NYX Buttermelt blushes in Butter Together and Getting Butter. Ew, I hate when people name makeup like really corny names. I feel like makeup should be named elegantly, but unfortunately it's not most of the time. I'm a big Milani fan. I have a couple Milani blushes. I have this one in Pink Panna Cotta and this one in Romantic Rose. It's like the rose-shaped one. Some of these are kind of old. I have this Bare Minerals bronzer. It's like a blush and a bronzer in Kiss of Pink. Also, this is another thing. I feel like I get so many blushes and then they're just like the same shade. This one is Coral Crush. It's the cream blush from Milani again. And I did just get this Anastasia Beverly Hills blush palette in the pink colorway. It's really, really beautiful. I'm actually wearing like the darkest shade on my cheeks right now. So yeah, I have way too many blushes basically. So that's my recent beauty obsession. For hair, I mean, I've just had the same like kind of shag haircut for like 4 or 5 years now. My hairdresser Brian is really amazing. He's like so cool. I'm not great with hairstyling or maintenance, so he gave me a haircut that's just very easy to air dry, that doesn't require any styling at all. And it works really well with my curl pattern. So I use dry shampoo sometimes, like for my bangs when they get greasy, but this is basically just how my hair is every day. For fashion, things I'm liking recently are skirts with interesting prints, big metal bangles, and a silhouette I'm going for more recently is like a big flowy shirt and little shorts and heels. Also, I love pantyhose. I mean, I feel like I wear pantyhose year round. That is the end of my video. I have been talking for over an hour now. And I still have a few questions that are unanswered, but maybe I'll do like another one of these in the future. Maybe when I hit like 5,000 subscribers or something, if that ever happens. We'll see. But yeah, thank you to anyone who asked questions. I really appreciate you guys. Very grateful for all of your comments and all of your thoughts all the time. All your DMs, everything. And thank you for 1,000 subscribers. I'm grateful to be celebrating it with all of you guys. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.